Hello everybody, Shrouded Hand here, and apologies if my voice sounds a bit funny. I am recovering from the flu, so I thought it was a good time to revive my laziest series, the Weird News Roundup, where I just look at a selection of the strangest news articles that I can find. So, to all you people who have been asking when this series was making a comeback, this is for both of you. Burglar hung out washing and cooked meal for victim. A woman discovered her house had been broken into by a burglar who hung out a washing, put her shopping away and cooked a meal on her stove. So yeah, this took place in Wales in the UK. Damien Wojnalowicz, 36, was jailed for 22 months at Cardiff Crown Court on Thursday for carrying out an unusual burglary in Monmouthshire. The woman says she has been left too scared to stay in her home after returning from work to find items had been moved in her garden and a recycling bin had been emptied. Imagine the terror of coming home and finding this. So the burglar left a note saying, "Don't worry, be happy, eat up and scratch." Strange. The court also heard that the bird feeders had been refilled and plant pots had been moved. Inside the house, a pair of shoes had been removed from packaging, which was placed in a recycling bin. A meal had been cooked using items from the woman's cupboard. Shopping had been taken from a bag and placed in the fridge, which had been rearranged. Kitchen utensils had been placed in the bin, and new ones from the shopping bag had been laid out. The toothbrush heads had been replaced on toothbrushes, an empty bottle of wine had been placed in a rack, having been drunk, and the floor had been cleaned with a mop and bucket left out. The victim also saw a bottle of red wine had been left out next to a glass and a bottle opener, and there was a bowl of sweets on the living room table. She spoke to a neighbour who described seeing someone hanging out washing. In the victim's personal statement, the female victim said, 2 weeks after the crime, until he was caught, I was living in a state of heightened anxiety I had never experienced before. I wondered if it was someone who knew me, if it was going to turn into a stalking incident, if he knew I lived alone, and if I had been targeted. I was too scared to stay in my own home and stayed with a friend. So yeah, as I say, imagine coming home and just finding everything in your house had been rearranged and there was a note left for you. This would freak you out. Anyway, luckily he was caught. A second burglary took place at another home on the 29th of July when the male homeowner received a CCTV alert on his phone which showed Wojnalowicz walking on his driveway. The defendant went on to use the shower in a summer house to wash and clean his clothes. Food and drink had also been consumed and the hot tub had also been left dirty. The victim asked his son-in-law to attend the property and the defendant appeared to be drunk and was holding a glass. When asked to leave, he did so, but the burglar was later arrested. His DNA was found on fingerprints from the first property he burgled. So Tabitha Walker, who was defending the burglar, said her client was homeless at the time of the offences and was undergoing a number of difficulties. She said he was apologetic to the victims and for the harm he had caused them. Yeah, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced for, 22 months? Yeah, Wales, man. Even the burglars are strange. 5 Sri Lankan fishermen die after drinking unknown liquids from drifting bottles. The group of 6 fishermen had sailed from the Tangor Fisheries Harbour on a multi-day trip and found bottles floating nearly 320 nautical miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. They thought the bottles contained alcohol and consumed the contents. I mean, you find weird bottles floating in the sea and your immediate response is to drink the contents. 4 of them died shortly after drinking the liquids, while another succumbed on Sunday. The 6th person took critically ill and was later evacuated to a Singaporean merchant vessel. The fishermen had distributed some of the bottles they found to nearby fishing trawlers. So not only were they putting themselves in danger, but they were distributing them to other fishermen who could have also been killed. And the authorities were trying to notify them against consuming the unknown liquids. I was hoping the article would tell us what was actually in the bottles that would kill them so quickly. Let me see if I can find another article. It might give me more. Let's do a bit of Google through here. No, it just says unknown liquids. There's so many questions about this story. One is, how much did they drink? Because you'd think if you found some weird bottle, you thought it was alcohol. You take a sip. Either it tastes like alcohol or it tastes like poison. Surely they wouldn't just go, oh, this tastes weird, and continue drinking. If they must have taken a sip and then spat it out, surely that wouldn't have been enough to kill them. So yeah, anyway, a weird story. And let's go on to another strange death. Cyanide teacups in room 502. Mystery of the Bangkok hotel deaths. This happened in the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel in Bangkok. No one was heard to scream or had rung for help. No one had even made it to the door. Even inside, there was apparently no signs of struggle. The untouched late lunch still laid out neatly on the table for the occupants to enjoy. From outside room 502, the only clue to the horror inside the locked room was the fact that the group were late checking out of the hotel, and yet inside were 6 bodies alongside teacups laced with cyanide. But days after police revealed the grim discovery, big questions remain. Why them, and who did it? So 4 of the victims were Vietnamese nationals. The other 2 are American citizens of Vietnamese origin. According to the investigators, Serene Chung, one of the American citizens, had borrowed the equivalent of over £200,000 from a husband and wife, I'm not saying all these names because I'll just butcher them, to invest in a hospital building project in Japan. The couple, who owned a construction business, had apparently tried in vain to get their money back. In fact, the matter was due to go to court in Japan in a matter of weeks. The groups checked into their hotel separately over the weekend and were assigned 5 rooms, 4 on the 7th floor and 1 on the 5th. Chung checked into room 502 on Sunday. The 5 others visited her suite that day, but they headed back to their rooms for the night. Before noon on Monday, they ordered 6 cups of tea, whilst the makeup artist ordered fried rice from their respective rooms. They asked for it to be delivered to room 502. A few minutes before 2 o'clock, Chung received the food orders at room 502, and she was alone in the suite at the time. Police said that she refused the waiter's offer to brew the tea for her party. The waiter also found that she spoke very little and was visibly under stress. The rest of the group started to arrive soon after. At 17 minutes past 2, all 6 of them could be seen by the door before it was shut. From then on, there was no sign of movement from inside. They had been scheduled to check out on Monday, but they failed to do so. Police entered the room at 4:30 on Tuesday and found the 6 dead on the floor. The initial investigation found that 2 appeared to have tried to get to the suite's door but failed to reach it in time. Police suspect that one of the dead was behind the poisoning and was driven by crushing debt. There's a picture here which shows the location of the bodies. I guess they were sat around this table drinking tea. Some of them just died before they even got up from the table. 2 of them managed to get up and they were heading towards the entrance here by the looks of it. Another strange story. Mystery surrounds a US woman found starving and chained to tree in India. Lalita Kayi, 50, was discovered a week ago in a dense forest after her cries for help were heard by shepherds. In a written statement to the police, she alleged that her husband had chained her and left her to die in the forest without food or water. But 7 days after Mrs. Key was rescued, many questions remain unanswered. Pandurang Gorka, a cowherder who found her last Saturday, said that he'd taken his cattle to graze in the forest when he heard a woman screaming loudly. The sound was coming from the forest on the side of the mountain. When I went there, I saw that one of her legs was tied to a tree. She was screaming like an animal. I called other villagers and the local police. So she was taken to hospital, and the doctor who looked at her said that she had some wounds on her leg and she appeared to be suffering from a mental health condition. After her physical health had improved, she was moved to a psychiatric hospital. Mrs. Key wrote about her version of events on a piece of paper. Injection for extreme psychosis, which caused severe cocked jaw and inability to drink any water. Need intravenous food, water. 40 days without food in the forest. Husband tied me to a tree in the forest, I think that says. According to police, Miss Kay was a ballet dancer and a yoga practitioner in America. She moved to India about 10 years ago to study yoga and meditation. It was there that she met her husband, but there is no clarity surrounding when or how she ended up in the forest where she was discovered last week. Police say they have been unable to verify these claims and believe it unlikely that someone would survive without food and water for so long. Unusual story so far, but there's an update to the story, and it gets possibly even stranger. US woman found chained to tree in India, tied herself, say the police. Mrs. Key has now said that she was not married and that she was probably suffering from hallucinations when she gave her first statement. Police said she told them that she was distressed because her visa had run out and she was running out of money, so she bought locks and chains and tied herself to the tree. Apparently she was just undergoing some kind of psychosis and tied herself to the tree. At least that's what the police are saying. I don't know, who knows, maybe we'll get another update where they say actually there is a husband and he did tie her to the tree, but yeah, I thought that was interesting just because of the strange update, but weird. Rare disorder causes man to see people's faces as demonic. Yeah, this is a computer-generated mock-up of how he sees people's faces. Imagine waking up and everyone looks like this. It reminds me of the film They Live. If you haven't seen that movie, Rowdy Roddy Piper finds a pair of sunglasses, and when he puts them on, certain people's faces appear as aliens, and he figures out that the whole world's been controlled by these weird alien creatures, and they're cloaking themselves, and the only way you can see them is if you put these sunglasses on. And what if it turns out that this guy was seeing the world as it really was? Victor Sharar has always had a sharp vision, but one life-altering day in November 2020, he noticed out of the blue that people's faces around him looked demonic. Their ears, noses and mouths were stretched back, and they had deep grooves in their foreheads, cheeks and chins. My first thought was that I had woken up in a demon world. You can't imagine how scary it was. I can't imagine how alone you would feel if that happened. You just woke up and everyone around you had a demonic face. Someone he knew taught visually impaired people and suggested he might have
prosopometamorphopsia.
Yeah, that. It's an extremely rare neurological disorder of perception. It causes faces to appear distorted in shape, size, texture and colour. The distortions only appear when he sees people in person, not in photographs or through computer screens. That's unusual, isn't it? Yeah, the fact that he couldn't see the distorted faces on computer screens gave researchers the opportunity to recreate what we were seeing, because what they actually did was they took a picture of someone and showed it on the screen, and then had the person stand in front of him and asked him to describe the differences between what he saw on their faces and what he saw on the computer screen. So this is why they were able to create these images quite accurately. For reasons that aren't clear to researchers, Sharar finds that green light alleviates his symptoms. So he sometimes wears glasses with green tinted lenses when he's in crowds. Alright, and here's some more nightmare fuel. Creepy humanoid robot with a face made out of living skin tissue is created by researchers in Japan. Man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. Oh my god. Jesus, it's trying to smile. It has no mouth and it must scream. So this is from the University of Tokyo. Oh god, they've gone even further. Look, they've moulded it over a humanoid looking face. The engineered skin tissue is made by taking a sample of human skin cells and growing them in a lab. These human skin cells are mainly harvested from excess skin obtained during surgeries. I wonder if the people who had their skin removed signed up to have their skin replicated and stretched over a robot face. Engineered living skin has its own challenges. The trickiest bit is getting the skin to attach to a robotic face made of acrylic-based resin. Previous methods involved mini anchors or hooks. So basically it's a human skin stretched over a bunch of hooks that are pulling it around. I'm imagining this smiling robot is just experiencing endless agony as its skin is being pulled around by hooks embedded in it.
Jesus wept.
Robots with skin on their face boast self-healing abilities, embedded sensing so they can feel embedded sensing capabilities, and an increasingly lifelike appearance. Yeah. I mean, why did they have to give it such terrifying eyes? That's what I don't know. Another thing it makes me wonder is, you know, when you hear these stories of people who have organ transplants and they start to act like the person that they've had the organ transplanted from. I wonder if this happens. I mean, the skin is the largest organ in the body, isn't it? So, could this happen? Could the robots start to act like the people they've had the transplants from? Duende. I need to translate this, don't I? Alright. Translation. Alleged goblin caught on video on a farm in Monterey. Let's have a look at the video. See this duende then. Oh my god, what is that? There he is. Just going for a little stroll. I'm sure as he passes over here you can see like a pair of big feet. Like he's got clown shoes on or something. Could it maybe be a skunk? It's hard to tell the scale of the thing. No, it couldn't be. I was thinking maybe a skunk with its tail sticking up, but the body would be too small. Yeah, it's hard to tell the scale. Users have speculated that these creatures may be elemental beings related to mythology and nature. Either a gnome or a goblin video always does it for me, so yeah, there we go, I'm happy. Jeepers Creepers, animal or witch, a mysterious eye goes viral in a Santillo mechanics workshop. The user recounts a disconcerting experience. Whilst going about her usual tasks, she began to feel an unsettling sensation of being watched. After investigation, she discovers that the gaze was coming from a small hole in the wall. I'm wondering some of these where it says she and he, I'm wondering if some of this is like weird translation because it's been translated from Spanish. The mechanic shop has been operating for years and is located in a building of considerable age. Alright, let's have a look at this video anyway.
Estaba trabajando cuando sentí que me estaban viendo.
What the hell? That looks like a cat.
Golpeábamos la pared y no se movía.
Turn this down.
Tampoco parpadeaba.
I don't know TikTok. How do I mute? Ugh. That's just a cat. Clearly. Surely that's just a cat looking through the hole. It's got cat's eyes. I'm saying it's weird that they're like shining a torch directly in its eyes and it's not blinking or... Yeah, I don't see its pupils contracting or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. The slow blink, let's go back to that. The slow blink looks animatronic. It reminds me of like, you know, when you see the animatronic dinosaurs in theme parks and stuff. It reminds me of something like that, like the slow blink. Something slightly unnatural about that, slightly robotic looking. In addition, some shared personal experiences, such as meeting a supposed cat-shaped gnome. Actually, that I've been listening to a few podcasts. Yeah, these guys, Mysterious Universe, is a good podcast if you want something to listen to. It must have been this one, because this is the one I've watched recently. Near-death experiences and dark entities. Yeah, this one they talk about where people see an entity that's shaped like a cat, and it turns out to be sort of demonic in nature, but it's sort of like, they describe it almost as like it looks humanoid at some points, but then it sort of goes down on all fours and can run around like a cat. So some people see it as a cat and they think their house has a cat spirit in it, but then it turns out to be a demon of some sort, like a little imp. No holes were found through which an animal could have entered. They need to get a trail camera in that hole. See what comes along it. A video claims to show a ghost riding a bus at night in Delhi. Man reviews footage to find he wasn't alone. Alright, so here we go. He's on the bus. I think we're looking here, but these bottles have been left empty. No one there, right? But then we go to the CCTV. And there's someone sitting there. My God. Oh, so it was this seat.
फिर से एक बार और देख लो ध्यान से कहीं मिस्टेक हो रही हो बकायदा इसमें दिख रहा है व्यक्ति बैठा हुआ ये देखो दिखा आपको लेकिन ऐसे अगर मैं पीछे करके दिखाता हूँ बस मैं अंदर या कंडक्टर सीट पे देखो दोबारा से कोई भी नज़र नहीं आ रहा
Could it not just be the image on the cameras frozen rather than there being a ghost sat there? What you'd need to do is have him recording this screen and then have someone else walk up the aisle so you could see the person walking up there, because as far as I can tell this is just a still image from earlier in the day when someone was sat there. Who knows though? Possible real ghost. Alright, here we go. Some goblin stories. Horror film come to life. Goblins terrorize Bulawayo family. Children beaten. Food vanishes. What, a family of 3 children? so there was no adults. The children aged 13, 12 at night, along with their elderly grandparents, okay, now it makes sense, find themselves at the mercy of unseen and mischievous entities suspected to be goblins. Their once peaceful household was transformed into a realm of fear and confusion. Oh my god. Strange occurrences have become routine. Objects vanish without a trace, unexplained noises reverberate through the walls, and children have been reported being physically assaulted by invisible forces. Doors and windows behave autonomously, lights flicker, and even food disappears whilst cooking. It sounds like a classic poltergeist case, to be honest. We don't know what to do anymore. It started last November. One morning, our children woke up with their heads shaven. Blimey. We thought it was a one-time thing. The next day, our youngest child woke up in the middle of the night screaming. He had been stabbed in the leg with a knife. He also woke up with his head shaved again. We were all terrified and completely clueless about what was happening. We sought help from different prophets and churches, but the situation only worsened after each attempt. Doors and windows would come open inexplicably. Our children's clothes, especially their uniforms, would be torn, and they could no longer attend school. We hired a spiritual healer for a cleansing ceremony. The following day, the house mysteriously burned down, but only the bedrooms were affected. Everything in the kitchen and dining room was untouched. Weird. They attempted to protect the children by having them stay with neighbours, but the creatures followed them there too. So the children's grandmother tearfully revealed that the community have begun labelling her as a witch. She vehemently denied any involvement in witchcraft, stating that throughout her 80-year existence she has remained a devout Christian. Classic Goblin case. Let's see what else we've got. Police officers desert station citing Goblin attacks. So this is serious. A police base has been deserted by officers who claimed they were being terrorized by goblins at night. We built a police station for the officers, and initially they patrolled in pairs. However, they haven't been able to stay for extended periods. The male officers reported being terrorized by female goblins at night. They described being harassed, bodies being violated, doors... Go into more detail, please. Doors opening on their own, and things climbing on the roof, making it impossible to sleep. So, yeah, that seems to be the end of the story. The police were terrorized by goblins to a point where they had to abandon their station. Amazing. Oh, here we go. It's an elf. This is from one of the first videos I ever uploaded on my channel. Has this in it. This is an ancient internet video, so I hope it's not this. I hope this is just an example. A northerner got into a fight with the elf on a farm and almost didn't make it. Flat and dark. A young worker whose name is being withheld for privacy reasons experienced an experience that defies all logical explanation and sparked fear among his co-workers. So the young man was operating a tractor harvesting sugarcane. Nearby, a companion was driving a truck when suddenly something unimaginable happened. According to the victim, a dark, shapeless figure appeared out of nowhere. The young man decided to get out of the tractor to urinate, and he watched as the entity fell from above the ground and took the form of a person. When he tried to return to the tractor, he felt an invisible attack. He was violently dragged several meters from the vehicle, leaving him unconscious and face down on the ground. After regaining consciousness, the young man, visibly shaken and trembling, told his companion what happened. He told how something invisible had attacked him, beaten him, and dragged him with inhuman force. He showed the signs of pain on his body, and when he lifted his clothes, they found inexplicable marks that were evidence of the violent encounter. Some say that the fight took place, so this is translated weirdly, but some say that the fight took place against the goblin that always lurks on the farms. Others say that it was the Usumar, others the familiar, and many others say that the young man now has the mark of the harvest. I don't know what that is, but that sounds incredibly sinister. Alright guys, I'm tacking on a little bit on the end of this section because since that story came to light, there's actually been a video recorded of the alleged elf, duende, whatever it is. So let's take a look at this. If you weren't convinced by the story already, then this'll do it for you. Look at this. Terrifying, I think you'll agree. I also wanted to add something in here, because this tale really reminded me of a tale from England in the 80s. In Wickford in Essex in the 80s, there was a farmer's boy driving his tractor, and it was quite late at night. He was trying to get his work done for the day. The field that he was in was called Moat Field, and apparently this area had a reputation for being haunted by the devil. A lot of the woods and things around that area are known as Devil's Wood, Devil's Hollow, that sort of thing. So anyway, he's driving his tractor, it's dark, he's got his lights on. He starts to see out the corner of his eye sort of dark shadow figures surrounding his tractor. It's that kind of thing where you see it out of the corner of your eye and you turn your head and they're gone. And anyway, he's driving along, and there seem to be more and more of these dark figures. And the guy starts to get a bit freaked out. So he turns his tractor around, tries to get out of there. In his panic, his foot slips off the pedal and he stalls the tractor. As he's desperately turning the ignition key, trying to get the tractor started again, he starts to hear scratching on the door from the outside, and he hears something that sounds as if the handle's being pulled. But he manages to get the tractor started. He roars off across the field, and as he's going, he's seeing more and more of these dark shadow figures just on the edge of the glow cast by the headlights of the tractor. He lurches the tractor to one side and the vehicle stalls again, the headlights go out, and once again he hears this scratching and he hears the handle of the door being rattled as if something's trying to get in. He starts the tractor up one more time and he guns it across the field. He doesn't even stop to open the gate, he just goes straight through the gate, knocking it down, and he drives away as fast as he can down the road. Once he gets to the safety of the yard, he gets out and he examines the tractor to see scratch marks on the outside, as if some clawed hand has been pawing at it, trying to get in. So anyway, that reminded me of this, the shadow figure and being attacked by an unseen entity in a field whilst driving a tractor. Yeah, it's got weird parallels. We'll finish off with this story. I don't know whether this is paranormal. Legend of the Thunder Cow. Residents near Lake Thunderbird describe a mysterious encounter with animal. Over the past year, people near Lake Thunderbird have had mysterious encounters of the bovine kind. A cow showed up in the Oklahoman's yards and can't be caught. And there's a video of it apparently. I don't know.
I believe she's real.
For over a year, people near Lake Thunderbird have had mysterious encounters of the bovine kind. A cow that shows up in people's yards and can't be caught.
Not only were there hoof prints, but she left a nice little cow patty behind.
She hangs out around Lake Thunderbird, so that's how she got her name, Thunder Cow.
Locals have no beef with this cow. Some even call it the mascot of Alameda. One person seeing a post wondering if she was still out there, calling her one cool bovine. And each new post makes the legend even more mystical.
Many have tried, but no one can get her, and she travels under the she travels in the dark.
So, is this Norman's very own Bigfoot, or does she have an owner? It's unclear for now, but locals say they often see her grazing here on the shores of Lake Thunderbird during the day.
She's out there.
Since Natalie Bevel's encounter, Thunder Cow hasn't hooked it back yet, but she has heard from others who've seen her in their yards.
Okay, so yeah, this just seems to be a cow on the loose, but it's the fact that no one can catch it and they only get partial glimpses of it a lot of the time. It's kind of taken on an almost cryptid type of legendary status. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the story. There's a cow on the loose, but I like the name Thunder Cow. I thought I would include it, and yeah, that concludes the video. A nice note to end on, isn't it? Yeah, great. Loose cow. Thanks for watching. And thanks to everyone who's supporting the channel. There have been a few people asking me to make these videos again. I guess they like the laid back, less serious nature of these videos from time to time. So to all the weird news fans out there, I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.